I still love her more than chitlins on Thanksgiving. The feeling to willingly move crowds is so thrilling. Even Prince Charles is willing to pay shillings.
Hello, world, and welcome to another edition of Songs in the Key of G with your host, me, Mark G. Now, in 1984, a 16-year-old named James Todd Smith sent a demo that he made by himself with a drum machine that his mother gave to him to a guy named Rick Rubin, who was running a small label out of his dorm room called Def Jam. So they get together and they make a single called I Need a Beat. That came out in 84. Many consider that to be the first release on Def Jam. It's kind of half true. It is the first release when Rick Rubin and Russell Simmons got together, but there also was a release earlier that year in 84 that Rick put out by an artist named Tila Rock and a song called It's Yours. So really that's the first release on the Def Jam label. Every time I do one of these videos, I can't help but reflect on the feelings as I discovered these songs. Discovering hip-hop back in that time was unbelievable. The feeling is almost indescribable. And I think that's why sometimes old heads like myself go a little hard on the youngsters. We benchmark the feelings that we had discovering hip-hop when we were young against how the newer hip-hop feels to us today. And I just don't think that's a very fair comparison. I mean, in our day, hip-hop was not played on the radio. It was not on MTV. The Grammys didn't even recognize it as a genre until 1989, right? That's why I haven't watched the Grammys since 1984 when Herbie Hancock and Grand Mixer DXT did Rocket. Like Public Enemy said, Trick a Chick in Miami, Terminator X packs the jam, who gives up about a goddamn Grammy? But really though, that's why this younger generation can't relate, right? They don't have the hip-hop chip on their shoulder that our generation had because they didn't have to. In their lifetime, hip-hop has been omnipresent. If you would have told me in 1985 that in 2022, hip-hop would be the most popular genre in the world and everybody would be a cannabis enthusiast, I would have laughed in your face and told you were crazy. I truly believe that one of the reasons the lyrics were so much better in that generation is because the greats of the day were constantly being challenged to defend the artistic merits of the genre. But those days are done. Hip-hop proved it and then some. So if the kids today want to take their foot off the gas a little bit lyrically and make a song based on a vibe, cut them some slack. Let them do it. And also remember, we're the old stuffy people. They're the young cool ones. The hip-hop that we talk about as being some of the greatest musical moments in our life, remember, your parents hated it. Mine did. And just like their parents hated their music, it's the way it's supposed to be. LL being our topic today made me kind of think of all that because he had a very similar experience coming into the game. He initially received a lot of criticism from established MCs and some, older generation hip hop fans for what they perceived to be his kind of lack of reverence and respect for the forefathers. Ice-T came for him. Kool Moe Dee famously came for him. How You Like Me Now. I remember my guys were like, man, Kool Moe Dee parked a Jeep on top of LL's Kangol on the cover of his album. How you think it feels to see another MC get paid using my rap style while I play the background meanwhile? I ain't with that. You can't forget that. You took my style. I'm taking it back. So, I think what those MCs should have understood is that he was part of the next generation of what they did. Of course, Kool Moe Dee, there was parts of your style in it. You're a legend. And I just kind of thought that they came off a little bit petty and jealous. It led to some great records back and forth between Kool Moe Dee and LL. So these days, LL's a household name. He's known as one of hip-hop's most enduring acts. He's a veteran, acclaimed actor of both movies and TV. And he's probably more known for that kind of stuff than he is for being the groundbreaking MC that he is. And that's really where I'm going to focus today. The LL that came out and changed the game. You know, ladies love, legend and leather, long and lean, and I don't wear pleather. Last of the red hot lovin' MCs, LL. That LL. Now, full disclosure, I'm a huge LL fan, but I only own 2 of his records. I own Radio, the first one, and I own Bigger and Deffer, the second one. And no disrespect to what came after that. You know, Walking with a Panther, you know, Mama Said Knock You Out were fine records. How about that iconic performance of his on MTV Unplugged with Mama Said Knock You Out? I mean, you can't forget that. But the first 2 records, Radio and Bigger and Deffer, those are a classic 1-2 punch in the vein of Run DMC and King of Rock, Paid in Full and Follow the Leader, Low End Theory and Midnight Marauders. They were that heavy. So in 1985, 3 important things happened for me. Number 1, the release of the soundtrack from the movie Krush Groove. That's where I first heard I Can't Live Without My Radio. Number 2, I saw the movie Krush Groove.
Sorry, man, auditions are over today, all right? You got to come back next week. Maybe we can work something out, all right? Box. What's this, man? No, man, come on, man. We're through, all right? No more, man. Don't for you, man.
My radio, believe me, I like it loud. I'm the man with the box that can rock the crowd.
And number 3, the release of LL's first album, Radio. I got that tape and took it home and put it in my box and played that thing until I wore it out. You know, there was something that was just so much more relatable about guys like him and Run DMC. You know, the guys that I listened to before, they dressed more like Parliament Funkadelic, you know, but here comes LL and, you know, he's wearing regular clothes. He's also carrying around a big JVC box, which is something that I did every day. And he's talking about this music and this culture in a way that was just very relatable for me. You know, I've never been a person who wished they were someone else, but I remember when I saw LL, I was like, yeah, I bet it's pretty cool to be that guy. So for the purposes of tonight's episode, I am going to stick to the first album, but where I usually pick one favorite song, tonight I just couldn't. So I figured I would do 3. I'm going to talk about the song that introduced me to LL. I'm going to talk about the song that convinced me that LL was taking it to the next level. And then I'm going to talk about my favorite song on the record, which I think is one of his greatest songs of all time. I was immediately struck by the hard-pounding beat. Then LL comes in with his first line.
My radio, believe me, I like it loud. I'm the man with the box that can rock the crowd. Walking down the street to the hardcore beat while my JVC vibrates the concrete. And
heavy integration of his DJ, Cut Creator. Cut Creator was very much a part of the entire project. It was really pretty beautiful.
I'm the leader of the show, keeping you on the go, but I know I can't live without my radio.
I'm sorry if you can't understand, but I need a radio inside my hand. Don't mean to offend other citizens, but I kicked my volume way past 10. Now I always wondered how he kicked his volume past 10, but then I saw this as Spinal Tap.
Top to what we use on stage, but it's very, very special because if you can see, the numbers all go to 11. Look, right across the board.
So the song begins with the classic vocal intro.
LL Cool J is hard as hell. Battle anybody, I don't care, you tell. I excel, they all fail. Gonna cocktail, double L must rock my bell.
The beat drops and I immediately recognize the percussion sample from one of my favorite songs, from one of my favorite groups, Trouble Funk, the DC area go-go band. Those not familiar with Trouble Funk, you should check them out. They're a great band. And those not familiar with the genre of go-go, you should check that out too.
Been waiting and debating for oh so long. Just starving like Marvin for a Cool J song. If you cried, I thought I died, you definitely was wrong. It took a thought plus a thought to create along.
Cause it ain't the glory days with Bruce Springsteen. I'm not a virgin, so you know I'll make Madonna scream. You hated Michael and Prince all the way ever since. If their beats were made of meat, then they would have to be mince. The song opens up with those heavy drums with that 808 just pounding. Then LL hits you with the opening line.
The momentum of this party can only increase. The design of this rhyme is a masterpiece. You wanna kick steps to the musical feet and witness the force I'm about to release. You rock.
But this song just goes so hard. I would put this thing on and I would play it and then I would rewind it and play it again. I'll dust a rapper off if I require practice. Vocal cords so rough that I could eat cactus. Choreographer of rhyme, best of all time. And you ain't heard nothing till you heard Jay rhyme. So there you have it. My big three from my favorite LL Cool J album, Radio. I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly enjoy bringing them to you. Also, I hope you subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out, and we would certainly appreciate it. So that's it for this episode. As always, I'm Mark G, signing off, saying be good to each other. The world needs a little bit more of that these days. So until next time, peace.
Hip-hop to all the real MCs. If you love hip-hop to all the real MCs, come on. If you love hip-hop to